I'd like to show you a very, very simple and very exciting way of cooking any sort of vegetables. Today we have some kale over here. It's gonna be one of my favorite. Why? Because it's delicious, because it has a lot of great nutrients and has a texture second to none. I have here some kale, and the technique that I want to show you is actually a combination between a steaming process and almost like a pan-searing process. So the French would call this nage. So what we have here in a pan so far, it's a little bit of water. Okay, and to this water I'm going to add some butter, but you could use any sort of oil that you like olive oil, and a couple of pinches of salt. So we're going to start up by putting a bit of salt there, a little bit of butter, and the technique is by adding now any sort of vegetables, could be broccoli, could be asparagus. We're going to get that water boiling. That's going to generate the steam. As you can see, the steam coming off from the pan. That's the first sign that you see that the pan is hot enough. And literally what we're going to do, we're going to use the lid to trap that steam. You're almost going to pressurize the pan, which is going to speed up the process of cooking. And why do I like that? Because the fastest you're going to cook that kale, the more nutrients you're going to retain, the more color you're going to retain. So it's going to be a perfect way of cooking this. So I can see the water is boiling over there. We can give a little stir just to disperse that butter nicely. And the great thing about cooking this way is that out of that water you can just turn it into a nice sauce just by adding a little bit of lemon, okay, a little bit of chopped herbs, and you have all nice and complete. So I have some kale that I've washed. I'm going to place this over this pan, and at this stage all I want to do is to trap the steam, okay? And you can see that you're doing that because you'll see some steam coming off on the side of the pan. While that's steaming up, I have some chervil over here, which is one of my favorite herbs, very underrated, but really delicious. It has a very nice aniseed taste to it. So there's hundreds of different varieties of herbs. It's amazing that we always use the same one. So I really challenge you to go and get out of your comfort zone and really discover new flavors, new additions to enrich your repertoire. So chervil is going to be one of my favorite herbs. Again, I'm going to just chop this roughly and get ready for whenever the kale is getting onto a stage that is ready. So finely chopped. And I can see just from here that there is some steam coming off of that pan, which is very much what we want. So a little bit of steam. So you really want to have the pan on maximum heat. So as you can see the steam coming off. So don't be tempted to open the pan at this stage, because obviously if you're going to open that up, steam will get released and it's going to take longer for you to cook this. So in about 10 seconds, I'm going to lift up that lid. I'm going to just give it a little stir. I'm expecting the kale to be a little bit wilted because the heat is just softening up all the fibers and it's starting to wilt down. So at that stage they become a little bit more, manageable, so you can stir them nicely. So shall we have a look at that now? Let's see what we got here. So as you can see, even that leaf bending. So what I'm going to do, again, just treat all this kale with respect, okay? Making sure that you just fold them nicely onto the broth. If you notice that the pan is getting a little bit dry, don't hesitate for a second, just add a little bit of water. Then again, what's stopping you from putting a bit of stock? What's stopping you from putting a little bit of wine in there, okay? So I'm teaching you the technique, and then it's eventually down to you to take that recipe where you feel that your interests and your tastes are when it comes to cooking kale. So there's a very unique smell that any brassicas release whenever they start to get cooked, which is kind of almost sulfur release. And if you really train your sense of smell to reach out for things like that, you hardly need to look at your watch if it's been there for 2 minutes or for 3 minutes. You can almost tell that just by smelling. Okay, that's why my cooking is all about using your senses. So if you wonder why a lot of mamas that cook a lot keep smelling, it's because they're really looking out for signs. So I've now starting to see the first signs, and you can see how it becomes vibrant in color. I'm going to take one of these kale, and I'm gonna check for the hardest part, which is obviously the far end. Beautiful. Cooked. It's taken hardly any time. This kale was really small, almost like a baby one. So if you have a very large, thick stalk, maybe I would recommend just to trim off some of that excess stalk, because obviously if you try to cook the leaf and a very thick stalk at the same time, there's going to be a lot of uneven cooking. But when they're a little small like these, you can just put it all together. So to finish up, we're going to add a little bit of lemon in there. I'm going to add my chervil, just literally sprinkle over the top. And then you can even finish up with a bit more butter, or a little bit more olive oil if you wish. Stir this down, and that will be ready for you to serve. So we're gonna go straight into the serving dish. Like that. And all these beautiful sauces over the top like that. Couldn't be an easier and faster way of cooking any vegetable. In this case, we had some kale.